or what or how. I mean, these are questions that just have to be answered. Who, what, where, when, how. Most stories have to have a little bit of all of that. It kind of makes it exciting and more interesting for the listener.
The listener. I'm hoping there's more than one tonight. There may be more than one tonight. I don't know. We're going to
If
see.
there's two, there's more than one.
So we're gonna make sure we're on Instagram tonight. Now we've got
Instagram
some
hi.
warnings. We've got some
warnings
warnings.
Yes, we said bad things last time.
No, StreamYard just said that there is a problem, something going on between the two. I don't know if they're infighting. Maybe there is a divorce involved. I'm not sure. Let's see if Instagram has us. Oh, okay. So look, I think we might be okay.
Hey, everybody.
Yeah, we may be live. I think I see us live.
Or we're not. Whatever.
Yeah, at this point.
Hey, you guys can hear us out there. Say hi. Hi. Look, everyone's saying hi. Everything's good.
We've got a couple people. This is beautiful. All right. So I don't know. What should we get into the show?
I mean, why not? 3, 2, 1.
I'm looking right now on Instagram and it is acting wacky. So I'm closing this. I'm going to close that.
Instagram. Bye-bye.
Dirty Dave, thank you so much. Dirty Dave, good, my brother right there. Sarah, what's going on?
Hey,
Sarah. How you doing? How you feeling? Richard Calderon, good to see you. Richard Calderon's got the Miami Vice the evil Miami Vice name right there. That was the one. Wasn't Calderon one of the pro antagonists in Miami Vice?
Sure, why not?
Dirty Dave says we are on Instagram, so that is
all beautiful. Right. Hi, Instagram. We're back. I love this. We're there. We're not. We're there. Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah, you know what? We're gonna save that information for another show. Tonight tonight is the Casually Serious podcast. We try not to, considering who I am a fan of and who my brother Ken over there is a fan of. Historically, for a long time, we haven't had a lot to brag about with our particular teams. So we're going to save that for another day. But today is a different day. And I don't know. We're going to have a conversation about something. Let's just get the show started. What do you feel about that?
Do it. I dig that. Did I hear a helicopter in the background?
We're black. I don't know. You hear helicopters? Huh? You want to hear helicopters? Yeah, I don't know, man. That's I didn't hear any of that in the background, but
I don't know. Anyway. I could be hearing things. I got stuff in.
How you doing tonight, Ken, man?
You know, it's Thursday, so you know we're here. We're talking to all of our friends, and I mean, life's great. Can't you tell? I mean, the exuberance that I'm exuding.
Yeah, you're definitely flowery right now for some reason. I'm just getting this optimism just oozing from you.
The smile's like so forced.
Oh, new music sounds good. It's good to hear. Thank you so much for that. Russell Holback, good to say what's up. What is up? Good to see you. So we're chilling here for episode 2, TCSP24. That is the Casually Serious Podcast 2024. It's just a real super catchy name. And
5 seasons. 5 seasons. This is our 5th season doing this.
This is our 5th season.
And we haven't been canceled.
We have not been canceled.
I mean, we've been canceled probably socially, but we haven't been canceled like physically.
And listen, folks, if there's anybody here who has not subscribed on YouTube, please do so. We have been at 38 subscribers for a year.
38,000, he's saying. He says 38. Everything he says just add thousands.
I wish I could say 38K on that one, but that's not the case. We only have 38. So if you would just go and just subscribe, maybe you don't need the notifications. Just placate us, because I just do not understand why we are not getting a lot of YouTube, but we have hundreds of followers on Instagram, hundreds of followers on Facebook, but I don't know. And also right now we might be losing viewers because of the East-West. We've got the National Sports League Pro Bowl going on right now. Isn't that part of what's happening right now at this moment?
I'm not interested, so can't be that important.
You're right. I think we just said we weren't going to talk about football. Sorry about that. Scratch that from the record. Editors, let's get that out in post. I'd appreciate that. Yes. So anyone who doesn't know the YouTube channel name, it is the Casually Serious Podcast. I wasn't trying to be facetious there when I said that. That's literally what it's called. I'm going to try and grab the link right now. Ken, man, what's going on in your life?
Well, if you really want to know that, I don't think you or anyone else does, but I'll tell you anyway. So I own a construction company, and we've been going through some real changes in our construction company. We build swimming pools, so it's fun. We enjoy the work that we do. But we got to a point where we couldn't grow much bigger. So we brought these consultants in. These people came in like the Bobs in Office Space. We had to do TPS reports. It was ridiculous. All of a sudden, we're doing more work than we were doing before. So I'm exhausted, man. These guys finalized their engagement with us today after 2 months, 3 months. I don't know. I have no money left. That's what I know. My business has a lot less money than it did before these consultants were here. So they did their job really well. I'm not too sure how it's going to end up for us. So hey, that's it. That was my day. Actually, it's been my last 3 months, but that's not why we're here tonight.
That is not. But growth is great, and it's terrifying at the same time. And no matter what, everything has got a price. And we grew up in the time of knowing that everything already had a price tag, but I did not think it was going to be. By the time we were old enough to be able to pay for price tags, we are being gouged for everything. So I don't know. I have no idea.
If more of these people would just subscribe to our page, I could stop doing that stuff and just hang out and do this for a living. So come on, folks.
Let me ask you this, and so we're gonna jump right into this, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight's crazy topic, Ken, man.
Yeah.
Is it safe to say you have enjoyed cannabis in your lifetime?
Absolutely. I am a big proponent of cannabis, both medically and recreationally, so long as enjoyed by responsible adults who understand the effects of cannabis.
Right. Beautiful. That's great. That's great. And and I know you might have gone through this. A lot of us who are seasoned cannabis users, as myself, I'm somebody. I teach people how to grow. I grow myself. I have a lot of knowledge about it. But I know at one point
Dude, they call you the cannabis cowboy. I mean, seriously.
Yes, I know.
Probably says something.
It does say something. It says something weird, but and much love to all my
cool
family out there.
I dig it. You should check him out, by the way, on that stuff. That's his other job, but it's still good. Awesome. It's worth it.
That's the second out of three podcasts. But so let me ask you this. Have you ever had a situation where maybe you felt a little paranoid or uppity or weird from smoking cannabis? Like some folks say the sativas, including myself, that back in the day used to kind of get you paranoid. Has that ever happened to you?
Sure, but I mean that kind of paranoia kind of exists within you, though. I think it's an individual thing. I don't necessarily believe that it's a drug that's necessarily bringing it out. It's more that the person who is taking cannabis has to have a feeling of comfort, and if they feel a little bit uneasy or they're concerned because it's either their first time or they're kind of new with it, I believe that lends to that feeling a little bit, especially back when it was not legal. So on top of us trying something different, we're also with possibly getting busted, going to jail having this stuff. So with that in your mind, and especially I think younger folks, but certainly people that have not tried it before, you can get that sense of paranoia. But to me, it's very self-induced, and it always goes away. That's the best part about marijuana, whatever the effect is, or maybe not the best part in some cases. But
yeah, that could be.
The effect will wear off. And ultimately, I've had situations where I've had friends of mine that maybe weren't as experienced with it, that maybe they ingested marijuana and that wasn't the way they'd done it before, so they didn't really realize how they were dosing things. And yeah, they got to the point where they just started feeling really weird. To the point where they would call me and say, "Oh my God, what's up? I'm going to the hospital." You don't go to the hospital, go to bed. I mean,
right.
The hospital, they're going to lie you in a room and wait till it wears off. So there's nothing they're going to do for you. But those effects can get to, I think, very minor levels. I don't think no one's going to say, "Hey man, I'm stoned and I'm going to go, stab somebody 150 times." That generally doesn't happen.
What is the highest percentage of THC you think you've had at one time? Like, because everyone's got the numbers on the medical bottles and stuff like that. So what's the highest percentage you think you've had in your life?
Well, I mean, for me, it was when I was testing concentrates a little bit. I'm a flower guy in particular. I prefer just the flower itself. So you generally
flower particularly.
So within the flower, probably in the mid 30s, 30%, 35%, probably some of the highest I've had.
That's
Smoke weed every day.
yeah, that's how that goes. So that's good to know, because this is the next question I'm going to ask, and it's very important that you answer honestly. If at any point in the time of you enjoying cannabis, whether you were enjoying a high THC cannabis or whether you might be feeling a little paranoid, have you ever felt the need to stab your loved one 108 times? Have you ever felt that need 108 times? And it can't be any more or less. I need to know if it was 108 times or not.
I mean, I had that exact number in my head once before, but there was so many other reasons why I wanted to stab her 108 times. Oh, wait a minute. I did stab her 108 times. It's a different
This
tool.
girl. All right. I don't know if we can get, I'm trying to, I think her name was Bryn Spector or something like that. Okay. In Ventura County, she stabbed her
Golly.
boyfriend in 2018. She stabbed her boyfriend 108 times, then went on to stab herself a bunch of times as well, trying to commit suicide. Not doing a very, I don't want to get too deep into this because we're talking about suicide, and I don't want to make light of this. However, the most horrific thing I think in this story is the fact that she decided not only to kill her boyfriend and stab herself, she also stabbed her dog one time. If I wasn't already getting
Dog
a little
survived.
crazy. Yeah, if the dog just survived. That's great to know. If I wasn't already pissed off at this point because of the defense for her was that she smoked a cannabis that was 30% THC or higher, and it caused her to go through a psychotic episode. This one's a tough one, man. I don't know really. That dog part really pissed me off. So anyway, this happened in 2018, and she's been going through court. She just recently got sentenced. But let me ask you, Ken, man, what is your initial knee-jerk reaction of what I just told you?
Well, more than anything else is that it's hard to believe that you're going to go into any type of a psychotic state that would produce that type of violence unless you've already had the propensity to have that sort of violence. Like, you are this type of person. You're not going to be made this type of person. All right. And marijuana isn't going to turn you to that. It's similar to somebody drinks too much and they like to say, oh, well, I become a different person when I drink. Well, do you become a different person to the point where you're going to stab somebody 108 times? Because if you did that while drunk, you would go to jail. If you were high on heroin, then you stab somebody 108 times, you're going to go to jail. If you were under any kind of drug or alcohol and you were operating a vehicle and you killed somebody, you're going to go to jail. And you're going to be going to jail for murder. So how is it that somebody is going to kill somebody and then say, well, the marijuana made me do it, and get away with it? Because you mentioned she was sentenced. Do you know what she was sentenced to? 2 years of probation and 1,000 community hours to talk about the effects, the negative effects of cannabis. That was her punishment for killing another human being.
Can you imagine being the mother, father, brother, sister, cousin, uncle, whatever of that young man, and having to sit there in that courtroom and just take that? And the the shitty thing is what I was kind of worried about, like the way maybe some cannabis stigma coming back.
Right.
That was starting to piss me off again. And I wasn't saying that I wasn't thinking about the young man that died or the dog that was stabbed or the girl who stabbed herself either. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I was thinking to myself, well, here comes this wave. I felt like this was gonna start a wave of anti-cannabis sentiment. But the unfortunate thing is that cannabis was used as the defense in this and actually helped her get out of a sentence that would have put her in prison. And I am freaking mind blown that she did not get 1 day in jail at all from this, other than maybe possibly being brought in for whatever she has to do and then bailing out or whatever. I am fucking dumbfounded right now over this.
And supposedly, the story goes that the marijuana belonged to the gentleman who was ultimately killed. The girl who did who stabbed him supposedly was a novice user. She hasn't tried marijuana very many times. I think they even named it was 6th time or 7th time she's ever tried to use marijuana. So everything kept going back to that the gentleman who was killed was the one who created the situation by providing her with marijuana over 30%. And that was a big part of it because the potency part of it was a big deal. What if that marijuana was 15%? Are we all of a sudden going to say, oh, well, there's just no way that would have happened? But because it was 30%, now we think that maybe this really could have happened that way. That I don't get. This I don't understand. The defense, unbelievable what they did and the web they weaved. And the judge in that case, to me, was just bamboozled by this. And it was an older gentleman who probably still was in the old days of, oh, this marijuana is terrible, reefer madness. Absolutely, I could see this kind of stuff happening, and allowed this verdict, or I'm sorry, for this judgment to go through and the sentencing to be so ridiculously light. To me, my biggest concern is the precedent that this is going to set moving forward. So now folks are going to realize, well, I'm going to go kill somebody. You know what? Hold on. Let me toke some 30% marijuana first or more, because that's a great way to get off. Now I can murder somebody and I could just blame it on the marijuana. And we've got a case that shows that that's okay. That's allowed. A judge already said that. Yeah, this is how we do things. So I'm more concerned with that precedent that is being set moving forward than anything else.
So this young man's name was Chad O'Melia, and he was 26 old. He was an accountant. And they had only been going out for a few weeks before this actually happened, which is insane. She was found, the law enforcement found her covered in blood, hysterically crying next to her boyfriend's body, still gripping the knife. And then when they tried to disarm her, she plunged the knife into her own neck and then stabbed her dog. I don't...
Supposedly it was a struggle with the police as well in trying to just get the knife out of her hand. She supposedly used 3 different knives. I mean, how is that in any way not somehow premeditated? I mean, you're using a whole bunch of different weaponry. Maybe you're grabbing whatever you can, but in my mind, somewhere in her head, she was going to kill this guy. And if you're going to go back and be able to just say, well, this is how it happened. Look, we're in January of 2024. This happened in 2018. So this literally took 6 years to litigate. It took this long to get to this point, and charges were lowered as they went down. I think finally she ended up on manslaughter, where she was already at, whatever it was, 1st-degree murder, that was brought all the way back down to manslaughter. So even having the charges reduced over the time, to me, is just atrocious what happened in the court system. To even allow it to get to that point, for them to be able to push it for that long, and then ultimately to get the charge reduced, and then be able to get her off on I can't even call that a technicality. I don't know what the hell to call this, because it's just asinine. There's really no other precedent to show something like this. There's never been anybody that got off because, oh, well, I usually drink beer, but I had scotch that night, and that stuff was really strong. I was super wasted when I crashed into that carload of nuns and killed 15 of them, but I shouldn't have to go to jail for that.
Yeah.
Come on, man. This is what we're starting. I know that sounds a little ridiculous, but so does this case.
No, not at this point. We can go ahead and talk about some serious extremes at this point, and they will just be just elements away from reality at this point in our life.
And it hits home for us a little bit because, yes, we are proponents of cannabis on the show. And ultimately, folks like us that do like to show the benefits, and especially over the past 20 years or so, the way that this country is kind of changing its stance on all of this as well. I feel like it's something that, like Bob mentioned earlier, that we have to be concerned with what the blowback on this is going to be, because you still are going to have a lot of people that are anti-cannabis that are going to start to point fingers at this and look what's happening. Look what this product does. Look what's happening. I mean, we've got more people using cannabis in the United States. I mean, maybe not more, but at least we can actually see what it is. We got registered patients, so we know what it is, and it goes across all spectrums of demographics as far as cannabis users go. Age, nationalities, gender, it really doesn't matter. So to me, I think we've proven, and pretty much anyone that was skeptical of this before is in a different view, I think, you're going to take now than you would have 20 years ago. So it is still something that's, I feel, important to discuss when you have this kind of blowback. I don't mind us researching things more and seeing what happens when maybe people that aren't as used to using cannabis, how they react to that. That's important. It is. And the regulations are still fairly loose. So there's still more to do there. But when it comes to something like this and somebody loses their life, this is no longer just discussing, is cannabis a good product medicinally or not anymore. Now you're putting it onto those outer edges again, to where it's scheduled now where it shouldn't be, along with cocaine and heroin. So, ultimately when that happens and the schedule comes down, as some freaking president needs to do already, I think we'll get a little bit more credence to the product being truly something that we could be using for medicinal and positive purposes.
The interesting part of this, so I believe she goes on to say that she was involuntarily intoxicated, saying that Omelia had pressed her to take a second bong hit after her not feeling the effects of the first one. And there is apparently there is a law in California that says you will be responsible for whatever crime you commit if you are under the influence of drugs or alcohol, unless you were forced to do these drugs or alcohol. So her defense, and I'm sorry that I just giggled right there. It's just fucking insane for me to think that way. That was exactly what was used. That was what the muscle that was flexed here was, that she said she was forced to do another bong hit. So therefore she was involuntarily intoxicated. Therefore she should not be held responsible for the 108 stab marks that she left in her boyfriend. Holy shit. Okay, everyone, if for all you folks listening right now, get up real quick, just stand up from whatever you're doing. And I want you to make 108 stabbing motions. All right. As fast as you possibly can, because I just truly don't believe this person did this slowly. You have to be in a psychotic rage to do something like this. And I don't know that cannabis is getting you there. Not to mention the fact that this was a crime that happened in California, a place that is recreationally legal, like Colorado, where I
was
live,
in 2018 when this happened.
And was in 2018. And at the very least medically legal. But for the judge not to have, there's so much cannabis stuff coming across the judges' benches during this time because of the legalization that they had to have been. This should not have been as judged the way it did. This judge should have known, no matter what. And California, that cannabis doesn't get you. How many? What's the precedent for this? How many other times have you seen come across the docket? 17 murdered in marijuana spree. It just doesn't fucking happen. So for this to sort of happen this way, it's just kind of depressing, and I feel so bad for this person's family, man.
And even just looking at drug treatment centers, and I mean, ultimately, cannabis is not. I'm not saying it doesn't. There are people that check into drug treatment centers for cannabis usage, but it is very rare, and it's certainly not done to the level of alcohol and harder drugs that people are trying to wean themselves off of. And most of the time, it's a physical addiction more so than anything else. So. I find that if you just look at those numbers alone, you can see that it just doesn't happen very often. People aren't entering feeling like, oh man, I got to find a way to get out of this. And certainly people aren't repeating using anything that's going to make them have some side of psychotic episode or psychotic episode, unless they are fully addicted to that drug, which, we've already seen with cannabis, again, maybe physically addicting, but ultimately is not generally any further addicting than that. Your body doesn't withdraw or create anything that's going to make you feel like you need marijuana more. It's generally your brain just saying you want it.
Yeah. My brain's never told me to stab somebody. That I don't know. That was just, I don't know. That's crazy. That's insane.
She deserves to be behind bars. That woman is dangerous. She's very possible. Yeah, maybe she'll never do it again because she got off killing for somebody. So I guess she figures, let me be a good person now and talk about the terrible effects of marijuana here on out. We should go visit some of those lectures she does.
Yeah, that'd be great. We got something mixed media-wise to jump with. What do you think about that?
I keep playing that track. I like that track. I like her.
It's funky. And we got it. And I don't know that we're gonna get hit, but maybe we get hit. I don't know, but
hey, there's my guy.
Giggity. 25. Wow, that's insane. 25th anniversary of Family Guy. And let me tell you, man, from day one, I was a massive fan of Family Guy. It is definitely part of woven into the American fabric, just like The Simpsons. The fact that they constantly make fun of each other in their episodes in very funny and sort of handshaky ways, never really malicious, is amazing. South Park and Family Guy do. I think South Park rips them pretty hard too, but I don't know, man. Family Guy it's just always been something near to my heart. I just loved Brian. Brian was the first character that kind of got to me. And then it was Stewie, and then everything else is sort of like equal, but I don't know. I don't, I've got all the DVDs. I will cherish them forever. And I'm just so happy that, that they've lasted this long. And the funny thing is I don't know if I read this correctly, but Seth MacFarlane hasn't been part of the creation of any of these episodes since 2005.
Wow.
All he does is come in and do his voice and leave.
Interesting.
He created this fucking machine that just makes itself, and he just goes in and does, and because he's had the Orville, and Orville is one of the most amazing shows I've ever seen too, one of the best sci-fi shows ever. Whatever he seems to get his hands in, he does well. But it also, yeah, he's a genius. He's our age, so he speaks to all of our comedy. But I don't know, Family Guy's different, and the fact that it was canceled in I think it was 2002 after season 3, replaced with Futurama. Which made me hate Futurama, by the way. I was one of the first 100 people to go online and sign the protest to try and get them back on the air, which eventually they did. But that's near and dear to my heart, man. What do you love about Family Guy, man?
I mean, I've been a huge Simpsons fan for a long time, and I feel like when Family Guy came out, I actually remember their first episode was that aired after Super Bowl in 1999. That was their very first episode. There's the Homer bong. I know who that was. Anyway, I think I hit that bong. Anyway, so that episode I thought was hilarious, but I think it was Death Has a Shadow. It was actually the name of their very first
yes.
1999, and it was after the Super Bowl. That's where they first showed the first time I ever even got to get introduced to anything through a Family Guy. At that time, I was a huge Simpsons fan, and I looked at it and I thought it was a great show. It was really funny, but I like that they just stole all of that from the Simpsons. I mean, you've got Peter Griffin as Homer Simpson, it's Stewie as Maggie, you got Homer and Brian. I mean, everything matched up in that show. And as I started to watch it a little bit more, I felt a little bit, I was like, I mean, I like it. It's funny, but man, you just stole what the Simpsons did. And you just kind of just worked off of that. And maybe they did, but at the end of the day, that show kind of took on a whole life of its own in just the character creation and what that became. It became more of I'm showing my age here a little bit, but it became more of an Archie Bunker type of situation. I mean, really felt like Peter Griffin was the modern day Archie Bunker from All in the Family. And that to me, I thought was hilarious because as a kid, I loved that show. And I didn't know what the hell it was. It was probably most going over my head. But I loved the fact that this old man called his stepson Meathead. And there was just a lot of things that from back then and the way that things were looked at and treated and the whole male chauvinistic thing and the women doing the domestic stuff, but still that dynamic to where the woman would still get the upper hand and show that the man's just a lowbrow type of jackass. That's funny. And they really did kind of recreate that in a more modern way. And by doing it, obviously, with animation, it can live forever. And 25 years later, nobody has to age, and they absolutely have gotten to something. I don't watch every episode anymore like I used to, but when I do tune in, I still laugh. It's still a great show. And Futurama is funny.
My wife doesn't allow white literature. The early Cleveland was very pro-black.
So good, yes.
and it's crazy how they sort of like there's evolutions and there's also characters that have devolved too. It always just seemed like I don't know. I don't know. I just think Jim Swanson, like all the characters that they had in there. There's something fucking super offensive about all of them, especially giggity giggity. Like Quagmire is basically like a sexual assaulter.
It's a predator, man.
But then you take it and you take it further, and then you got Herbert the pervert, who is 100%. Sounds swell. Come here, boy. Yeah, like it's horrible, but you can laugh at it because they're cartoons.
Right.
There was something about the way that he did things so intelligently that if you had to be smart to get it. Like there was one episode where Peter was like, "All right, Lois, next tonight if you don't do something, I'm getting anal. And then he was like, that means you have to clean everything. And so like there's just little things in there that you're like, dude, they just snuck that right past you. And that's really what latched me on, because the pop culture references attached with like you having to put the pieces together yourself as an audience member is 100% what won me over. And it was just like quick fire. Then they start making fun of the fact that they have all these flashbacks. So they do like triple flashbacks. I don't know, man. There's really nothing I think that McFarlane could do wrong in my eyes.
No, I agree. It's a well put together show. It's a funny show. Every show you're gonna laugh. I mean, one way or another, you're gonna find some humor in it. The Joe Swanson thing you just mentioned. My father was paraplegic, so for me, like there wasn't a lot of jokes going there. That flew very well for me when it comes to making some fun of somebody in a wheelchair, because it was very personal to me. But I got to admit, there were a couple of episodes where I was like, kind of looked at him like, really, we're gonna go there with that? I mean, but even that, you start to think about what they did do, and that was, they just made fun of everybody. So it didn't matter. There was no bias there. They're gonna hit you no matter what. And hey, I feel like that's consistency right there. You're getting everybody. So I know I eventually gave up on being all upset with them about that, but yeah, sometimes it messes with you a little bit.
That was the South Park formula. They still do it that way. It does not matter who you are, dude. You are going to get it.
You might get offended, but hey, you know what? At least everybody's getting offended, so don't worry about it.
Speaking of South Park, I don't know if I mentioned this, but we got our invite to Casa Bonita.
Ooh, fancy.
Yeah, so you have to go on the waiting list. And Casa, I don't know if anybody knows anything about Casa Bonita, but South Park has been making fun of them for decades. And before Trey Parker and Matt Stone bought Casa Bonita, it used to just be this shticky, horrible Mexican food place where it was the worst, not really the worst, but bad Mexican food. But there would be these giant cliff divers, and there's like all this crazy stuff going on. So you're going there for the experience much more than the food. But it was such a big deal that Trey and Matt bought it. They got professional chefs there. And you had to get on a waiting list. It's not like open. You're going to get invited. They're doing like this slow open. And we finally got our invite.
Nice.
So that's going to be pretty rad. I know that there's like hidden South Park characters you can walk around and find, and just like all kinds of crazy shit that's going to be going on. I don't know. I'm just excited to be able to go over there. Although
I can't tell you how excited I am for you.
I think that we can bring like up to 8 people with us, which is pretty cool. But
can you bring me back a taco?
Yeah, I don't know if you're going to want, hopefully by the next time you get out here, they'll be open. It's much better than trying
to ship it to Miami. Just try for
ship you. Well, let's see how good they are. I'm not
keep really that 100%. Shell crunchy. I want a crunchy shell when it gets here.
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's our show. I still don't understand what's going on with the 108 stabs, but I'm so happy that Family Guy is still around. So if we have to put that in a nutshell, I'm glad that we were able to end on a higher note. And say congratulations to McFarlane and company and all that good stuff. But Ken, man, anything you want to say before we get the F out of here, man?
Just I'd love to see everybody back next week. Let's do it again.
All right. Dr. Brian's going to bring us out. Y'all have a good one. Love you.